In May 2008, a massive fire tore through a $2 to $2.4 million Long Island mansion owned by 50 Cent. At the time, the house was being lived in by his ex-girlfriend Shaniqua Tompkins and their young son. The blaze spread incredibly fast, so fast that police and fire officials immediately labeled it suspicious. 6 people were inside the house when the fire broke out around 4 a.m., including Tompkins and 50's son. They were all rushed to the hospital for smoke inhalation, but thankfully survived. Almost immediately, the situation turned explosive in the media. Tompkins went public and accused 50 Cent of trying to kill her and their child. She claimed that a Molotov cocktail had been thrown into the house and openly said she believed 50 Cent was responsible.
Mr. Jackson business. You do think so?
Yes, I know so.
Why do you say that?
He threatened me on Monday.
He did?
He threatened me. Look, watch what I'll do. I'll have someone come kill you. He threatened me. He threatened me on Monday, and this is what he did. I know he did. There's not a doubt in my mind on my son's life. I know he did.
What happened?
I know he did.
Anything? Did you see anything?
Someone threw something through the window, and the house just ignited. Couldn't even make it downstairs. We had to jump out the window.
Her accusations landed hard because the fire happened during a bitter legal battle over the property, with reports of eviction issues and court orders hanging over both sides. That context made the story feel even darker and more personal. 50 Cent strongly denied any involvement. His lawyers called the accusations absurd and offensive, and 50 himself said he was deeply concerned about everyone who had been inside the house. He also pointed out that he wasn't even in New York at the time. He was in Louisiana filming a movie when the fire occurred.
But right now, it doesn't look good for him, man.
It doesn't. In fact, it makes perfect sense. He would be one of the people who would have a motive to burn down the house because he wanted her out of that house.
While investigators continued to describe the blaze as suspicious, no one was ever officially charged, and there is no public record of 50 Cent being named a suspect in the case. Still, knowing 50 Cent's history, his ruthless reputation, and the way he was known to operate during that era, it's easy to see why so many people at the time believed he had something to do with it, even if it was never proven. Then came a strange twist. In 2010, during a testimony in an entirely different court case, the ex-girlfriend of one of 50's associates, Dwayne McKenzie, claimed that McKenzie had bragged about setting the fire at the Dix Hills mansion. McKenzie's lawyers deny the claim, and once again, no charges were filed related to the fire. El Chapo's Cartel connection. While 50 Cent and G-Unit were in Chicago promoting albums, things took a wild turn behind the scenes. Young Buck's now iconic spinner chain ended up getting snatched after his close friend D-Tay took it to a party. The people who took it wanted to embarrass G-Unit and make a statement. Almost immediately, they tried to flip the situation into a payday, offering to sell the chain back for $100,000. They also started using the chain for clout, wearing it in music videos and posting photos online to prove they really had it.
If you niggas don't get up with us before y'all get here and don't holler at us, this how shit going down, man.
This what happened.
Y'all already know how this shit go, man.
50 Cent wasn't having it. He flat out refused to pay the $100K ransom, and what should have been a simple robbery turned into a full-blown street negotiation. Names like Chicago power players The Godfather, Jojo Capone, and even Suge Knight started getting mentioned as people tried and failed to get the chain back. That's when the situation took a shocking turn. The Flores twins, Jay and Pete, caught wind of the stolen chain. These weren't random hustlers. They were 2 of the biggest drug traffickers in Chicago, directly connected to El Chapo's Sinaloa cartel, reportedly moving hundreds of kilos of cocaine every week. One of the robbers tried to sell the chain to them, but instead of buying it, the twins saw leverage. They decided to make a power move. The Flores twins ordered a total freeze on drug shipments coming into Chicago until the chain was returned.
Yo, you know who got the chain back? Them El Chapo twins. Them Spanish. You know how that shit go. Nobody gets no work in Chicago. Nobody's getting no work in Chicago until the chain come back.
Overnight, the streets dried up. Dealers couldn't re-up, money stopped flowing, and pressure started building fast. The Godfather felt it immediately and knew the freeze was bad for business. He stepped in, leaned on the people responsible, and ordered them to give the chain up to the Flores twins. Not long after, the chain made its way back. Just like that, the situation was over, and it quietly established a surprising connection between 50 Cent and the Flores twins. Years later, that connection came full circle. In 2008, the twins were arrested by the feds and flipped, becoming key informants who helped bring down El Chapo himself. Though they were sentenced to 14 years, their cooperation earned them reduced time, and they were released in 2020. Eventually, 50 Cent repaid the favor by helping them produce the podcast Surviving El Chapo, where they told their story. Supreme's second murder attempt. Most people only know about the 2000 shooting where 50 Cent was hit 9 times and somehow survived. What almost never gets talked about is what came after. According to federal investigators, the first hit wasn't the end of it. They uncovered evidence suggesting there was an ongoing plot by Kenneth Supreme McGriff and members of the Supreme team to finish the job years later.
Where were you shot?
In my hands, my legs several times, like 5 times in my hands, and then in my legs, and then in my face.
In 2005, federal court documents came to light, including a search warrant affidavit written by IRS Special Agent Francis Mace. In it, investigators stated they believed there was an active conspiracy to kill 50 Cent that continued well into the early 2000s. The motive never changed. Authorities said it was still about retaliation for Ghetto Quran, the song where 50 named names and openly detailed the history of Supreme and his crew. From the Fed's perspective, that record crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Things got even darker when investigators alleged a connection between McGriff and certain employees at Murder Inc. Agents believe McGriff enforced an unofficial blacklist against 50 Cent, warning people in the industry to stay away from him. Anyone who ignored that message, including 50's mentor Jam Master Jay, was seen as putting themselves in danger. One of the most chilling details came from intercepted communications. Federal agents discovered pager messages being sent to McGriff from associates who were tracking 50 Cent's movements in real time. The messages allegedly gave play-by-play information about where 50 was, essentially painting a live map of his whereabouts. Investigators believe this was intelligence gathering for a second, more organized hit. The reason it didn't happen was because a few key reasons likely saved 50's life. After the 2000 shooting, he went into full survival mode. He hired a massive security detail that federal agents themselves noted was enough to scare off potential attackers. He also famously wore a bulletproof vest everywhere and traveled in armored vehicles, making it nearly impossible for street-level shooters to get a clean shot. On top of that, law enforcement pressure kept tightening. By around 2002, the FBI and IRS were deeply investigating Murder Inc. and McGriff's finances. That level of heat made planning and carrying out a high-profile murder far too risky. 50 Cent's dog's name. One of the most talked about feuds Oprah Winfrey ever had with a rapper was with 50 Cent, and it played out very publicly. 50 didn't hold back at all. At one point, he even went as far as saying Oprah wasn't really a black woman.
I don't even think Oprah Winfrey is a black woman. I think she's a white woman. She's been catering to a demographic of middle-aged white women for a long period of time.
According to 50, the beef actually started with disappointment. When he was coming up and becoming one of the biggest names in rap, he desperately wanted the stamp of approval that came with being on the Oprah Winfrey Show. For a kid from Jamaica, Queens, who had lived in the streets and hustled to survive, that kind of mainstream validation meant everything. It was also deeply personal. 50 has said his grandmother was a huge Oprah fan, and getting on her show would have been a way to show his family that he had turned his life around and built something legitimate. But when his team reached out, Oprah wasn't interested. She didn't like what 50 represented or the content of his music. In an interview with The Guardian, 50 explained it bluntly. He said Oprah was completely against everything in his music, and because of that, he knew he'd never be invited on her show. In his mind, that platform was the ultimate sign that you'd reached the highest level of success. Once he realized that door was closed, he decided he wasn't going to take it quietly. As he put it, if they couldn't be friends, they might as well be enemies. That's when 50 went into full 50 Cent mode. He started taking shots at Oprah publicly and even mocked her fan base with his usual unapologetic humor. In classic Petty fashion, he took things a step further and named one of his dogs Oprah, making sure everyone knew exactly how he felt about being shut out.
You have a couple of pets as well,
Yeah.
a dog and a cat with interesting names, to say the least.
Yeah. That's Oprah.
That's Oprah. Okay.
Over time, though, the tension cooled off. The two eventually squashed the beef and even became friendly. Still, that didn't mean 50 suddenly agreed with her criticism. His mother's murder. Sabrina Jackson was the mother of 50 Cent, giving birth to him at just 15 and raising him alone in South Jamaica, Queens. She was tough, sharp, and deeply respected in the neighborhood, one of the rare female cocaine dealers operating in the middle of the 1980s crack epidemic.
She had me when she was 15, so, back then it wasn't as common as the young girls have children at 15, a little more now than it did then.
But the same world she hustled in was the one that ultimately took her life. For 50 Cent, she was everything: his protector, his provider, and the person who taught him survival long before fame or music ever crossed his mind. By the early 80s, Sabrina was working within a violent drug economy ruled by crews like the Supreme Team. Rumors on the street claimed she had gotten involved with them and may have fallen into addiction, which allegedly caused her to mishandle money or product. In 1983, when 50 Cent was only 8, Sabrina went inside her apartment when someone targeted her in a chilling, calculated way. According to 50 himself, someone slipped something into her drink, waited for her to lose consciousness, then turned on the gas in her apartment and left her there. The death was recorded as a fire-related incident, but the circumstances made it clear someone wanted it to look like an accident. Despite the suspicious setup and neighborhood speculation, no suspect was ever named, no one was arrested, and no charges were filed. Jimmy Henchman blew Yayo's limo. During the long, ugly beef between Jimmy Henchman and 50 Cent, things didn't just stay lyrical. In 2007, the conflict took a much darker turn and spilled over onto 50's inner circle. That year, Tony Yayo, 50's right-hand man, along with another G-Unit affiliate, Lodi Mac, crossed paths with Henchman's 14-year-old son, known on the streets as Lil Henchman. Rumor had it the kid was wearing a GU Not shirt, a clear diss aimed straight at G-Unit. Yayo and Lodi didn't take it lightly. According to reports, the two pressed the teenager against the wall and Yayo allegedly slapped him. Then things escalated even further when Lodi reportedly pulled out a gun and pistol whipped the kid.
If I slap your kid, you're gonna go all out too. It's the streets. Rules got violated, and it is what it is.
Both men were arrested. Yayo's charges were eventually dropped, but Lodi wasn't so lucky. He pleaded guilty to aggravated assault and ended up serving a few years in prison. That incident lit a fuse. Before Yayo even stepped foot in court, someone opened fire on his mother's house. No one was hurt, but the message was loud and clear.
Your mom's house got shot up afterwards. Was your mom and your sister in the house?
Nah, my mom's wasn't there, my sister was there.
The beef kept escalating, and later that same year, Henchman allegedly tried to have 50 Cent killed. At the time, 50 was on the set of his I'll Still Kill video with Akon. According to reports, Henchman's crew pulled up armed with silenced weapons and were prepared to open fire. But before they could even get out of the car, one of the guns accidentally discharged. The unexpected noise panicked them, and they drove off. If that gun hadn't gone off, it could have turned into a full-blown shootout, especially since everyone at 50's camp was reportedly armed.
It was the filming of the 50 Cent and Akon I'll Still Kill video.
Henchman and them were supposed to come through, and I guess they gun jammed, but we had God on that side, and they backed out on the hit, but we had straps too.
Henchman didn't stop there. Knowing 50 moved in bulletproof vehicles, he allegedly came up with an even more dangerous plan, blowing up 50's armored van. One of the final attempts tied to this war involved Tony Yayo again. Henchman allegedly spotted Yayo's Bentley parked and ordered it sprayed with bullets. What the shooters didn't know was that Yayo wasn't in the Bentley. He was sitting safely in his bulletproof van parked behind it, escaping unharmed once again.
My issue was really more with Jimmy Henchman. And then, as we leave and I left the Apollo around the corner, my Bentley got shot up, but luckily I was in my bulletproof truck behind the Bentley.
Things reached a boiling point in 2009. Just 2 weeks after Lodi Mac was released from prison, he was shot and killed in the middle of a Bronx street. Many immediately suspected Henchman. Eventually, federal authorities caught up with him. He was convicted on charges including cocaine trafficking, money laundering, witness tampering, and the murder of Lodi Mac, and was ultimately sentenced to 2 life terms in prison. Michael Jackson squashing 50 versus the Game beef. Everyone knows how long and messy the beef between 50 Cent and the Game dragged on. Even though they've both grown since then and their relationship is a lot calmer now, that fallout permanently changed the way they interact. What most people don't know is that, according to the game, the feud once caught the attention of someone you'd never expect, Michael Jackson. In a recent interview, Game claimed he actually received a phone call from the King of Pop himself, and the topic was the ongoing war with 50 Cent. Game said the conversation caught him at the wrong time in his life. He admitted he was still young, deep in the streets mentally, and fully locked into that aggressive mindset. When Michael brought up the beef and tried to calm things down, Game said it didn't land the way it probably should have. He explained that once Michael started talking about 50, it became overwhelming for him. Up until then, Game said he was low-key fanning out just talking to Michael Jackson, but the second 50's name came up, reality hit. The beef felt too real, and he couldn't even appreciate the moment for what it was.
I talked to Michael Jackson one time, and I think I was a little too young and a little too in the streets still and too gangster in my mind. Once he mentioned 50, then it got kind of weird for me. But up until then, up until that point in the conversation, I was like super fanned out.
According to Game, it got so awkward and uncomfortable that he actually hung up on Michael Jackson. Looking back, he admits that was pure immaturity and something he'd handle very differently today. Michael Jackson might be one of the most unlikely people to step into a rap beef, but if the story is true, it's still wild to think about. Then again, it is the Game telling it, and as much as the story sounds legendary, he's also built a reputation over the years for stretching the truth more than a few times. 50 versus Madonna feud. 50 Cent had beefs with plenty of people over the years, and pop stars haven't been off limits. Back in 2003, when 50 was on the rise, he was actually all smiles meeting Madonna, posing happily with her during a November 13th appearance on MTV's Total Request Live. Fast forward to 2011, and things started to get messy. Both 50 and Madonna were under Interscope Records, and 50 went on a Twitter tirade against the label for releasing artwork for Madonna's song Girls Gone Wild, which he felt shared the same title as one of his tracks. He accused Interscope of dropping it ahead of schedule and publicly aired his frustration. Years later, in 2019, 50 Cent reignited the feud in classic social media fashion. After Madonna surprised fans with a performance alongside her son David at the legendary LGBT Stonewall Inn in New York City, 50 mocked her on Instagram, taking aim at her body. Madonna didn't ignore him, she hit back subtly on Twitter, keeping her response playful but pointed. Then in 2021, the back and forth continued. Madonna posted a series of racy photos on Instagram, and 50 once again mocked her over her age and choice of attire.
What did Madonna do? Madonna, I just looked, I said the first time, I said, look, you gotta adjust. What's going on? You can't be like a virgin at 63. Right. That's it.
Madonna wasn't impressed and reminded him of the time he'd once called her a friend and proudly associated with her. 50 Cent did attempt some damage control, tweeting what looked like an apology. "I must have hurt Madonna's feelings. She went and dug up an old MTV photo from '03, he wrote. He added, "Okay, I'm sorry. I did not intend to hurt your feelings. I don't benefit from this in any way. I said what I thought when I saw the picture because of where I had seen it before. I hope you accept my apology." Madonna, however, wasn't having it. She shared a BET clip where 50 himself called her a friend of mine, highlighting the inconsistency. 50 deleted his apology tweet but didn't stop there. He even spliced her video into a short film, responding like an anonymous-style avatar. The feud didn't end. In 2022, he mocked Madonna again for posting lingerie and sexy shots on Instagram. When she stayed silent, he escalated, calling her a grandma for rapping to Kendrick Lamar and twerking in her underwear. He also shared an article criticizing her for trying to use rap music for clout. By this point, Madonna seemed done responding. The $5 million sex tape lawsuit. Back in 2009, 50 Cent was deep in a public rivalry with Rick Ross. Looking for dirt, 50 somehow got his hands on a private S-tape featuring Lastonia Leviston, who had a child with Ross, and another man named Maurice Murray. Instead of keeping it private, 50 Cent edited the video, blurring out the man's face but leaving Leviston visible. He went a step further, appearing in the video himself as his alter ego, Pimpin' Curly, wearing a wig and providing a mocking commentary aimed at Leviston and Ross. He used a string of crude and insulting terms throughout, clearly turning the tape into a tool to embarrass both of them. The edited video was then posted on his website, where it quickly went viral and caused a huge stir. Leviston didn't take it lightly. She sued 50 Cent in New York, claiming invasion of privacy and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Her lawyers argue that she never consented to the tape being filmed, let alone distributed, and that it had been weaponized in a rap war she had nothing to do with. They also highlighted the severe emotional impact the release had on her, including public humiliation and even suicidal thoughts. The case went to a Manhattan jury, and in July 2015, they sided with Leviston, awarding her $5 million. The timing couldn't have been more dramatic. Just days after the jury's award and right before punitive damages were about to be determined, 50 Cent filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
The trouble may have started last week when a jury ordered him to pay $5 million to a woman who said that he posted her private tape on the internet. The jury was supposed to meet this week to consider punitive damages too.
Many saw this as a strategic move to protect his assets and delay paying Leviston immediately. During the bankruptcy proceedings, he had to explain his flashy lifestyle, his expensive cars, jewelry, and cash flaunted in social media, telling the court that much of it was just prop-based and that his public persona didn't reflect his real financial situation. Even with the bankruptcy filing, 50 Cent couldn't completely avoid the fallout. In 2016, his bankruptcy reorganization plan was approved, which included a $6 million settlement to Leviston. On top of that, he had to pay more than $23 million to other creditors, including a massive payout related to a failed headphone deal with Sleek Audio.